executive table. I'll go ahead and get started. Don't want to hold up too much of your time. A little bit about me. I am a Haitian immigrant. Both my parents are from Haiti, had us here in the Bahamas, and brought us here to the States. I actually started my career in sales in the hospitality industry, so doing sales and marketing, and going into the hospitality industry at a very, very young age, and really starting from the bottom, right? Starting in that hotel as a PBX operator, went into the front office staff, and then to sales and marketing. And also, once I relocated from Florida to Georgia, I went into the telecommunications industry. So I spent over the vast majority of my career in telecommunications. Last position being a senior technical project manager for a Fortune 10 company. And I just started being comfortable saying that because I realized the impact of not only that position, but also of the women, or the lack of representation on the of what the people around me, right? So I did that for the vast majority of my career. I'm married, I have 2 kids, beautiful 2 little boys, and I lead in ministry, so also in corporate ministry, and you know how as women we lead also in our homes, right? Well, we follow our husbands, but we're taking on those leadership roles, making sure everything happens. So that's a little bit about my background. And again, as I mentioned, coming from minimum wage to a 6-figure income was not easy, right? I endured or went through a lot of hardships. So that's where my passion for helping other women that want to advance in their careers, that's where my passion comes from. As you learn as we go through the 3 secrets to using executive presence for advancement, I'll share with you some of my stories and some of the steps that I had to take to overcome that. I'll share with you quite honestly and frankly some of the responses and the setbacks that I had to overcome in order to command a 6-figure salary. So by the end of this webinar, you'll be able to, number 1, know how to increase your self-confidence and gain momentum so you're not being stuck, right? And the second secret we'll talk about is how do you establish your unique voice, right? How you communicate with confidence. That's the second thing we're going to cover in this webinar. And the third thing is shifting from an imposter syndrome to an I belong, right? And as we go along, you'll understand how that impacts how you show up. So guys, let me know if you can see my screen on here. So what we'll cover. So first, let's start off, since I'm an executive presence coach, right? Let's talk about what is executive presence actually. So what you see here, executive presence is it encompasses 3 components: your physical appearance, and we do touch on your physical attributes, but how many of you know that you choose if that's a stumbling block for you, right? You choose if that's a handicap for you. You choose if that's going to stop you to reach your goals. So executive presence encompasses your physical appearance. And what I work with my students on is building your confidence and your professionalism, no matter what field you're in, no matter what industry you're in. Your communications, how you connect with other individuals on your level and higher up, your stakeholders, and your level of credibility, right? Those are all part of your communication style, verbal and nonverbal. And the third component of executive presence is gravitas. Gravitas simply means your actions, how you act. So we at Demand Leadership Institute, we include that as part of your leadership style, knowing how you lead, right? What's your leadership style, and what does your actions say to communicate that? So if you guys are ready to dive in, we're going to go ahead and do some work. Hopefully you have your pen, paper, something to write with, and let me know if while I'm going through the information, if I need to pause. If we'll do a Q&A at the end, but I want to just make sure you're getting this. So when we're talking about, first let me ask, how many of you are working towards your career goals? Go ahead and put in the chat for me if you're working towards your career goals. Put in career. And how many of you are working, you're entrepreneurs and you have business goals that you're working to meet? Go ahead and put in the chat your business goals, right? So if you're doing business or if you're doing career. And we'll see why that's important in a second here. So the reason I asked that when I talk to you about my leadership, let's see if I can pause this for a second. I just want to make sure that we are all seeing the same thing. I want to make sure that you guys are seeing it and I'm seeing the whole okay, I just want to make sure we're all seeing the same thing here because I don't want to miss your comments if you're put it in. So this lady is at her desk and she is overwhelmed. When I talked to you earlier about being a mom, a wife, a manager, a minister, an entrepreneur, right? You guys can list off your skills. You can list off your responsibilities, the different hats that you wear and the roles that you're in. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you show up. And we're going to focus on the career piece and the business piece as an entrepreneur. How do you show up in these roles? So if you have your pen and paper, I want you to take out a piece of paper and I want you to draw a line down the middle of the paper. And once you draw that line, I want you to go ahead and draw a line across. So that way you have 4 quadrants, right? So you're drawing a line and you have 4 quadrants on that. And on the first one, on the first top left hand, I want you to think about your career and your business, your ministry, where you've been a leader. And I want you to think about how do you show up? What do you hear in those spaces? Right? If you hear, you are too aggressive, you're too controlling, you're too intense, you're too fat, you're too quiet, you're too timid, you're too loud. I like you. I don't like you. Like, what do you hear? You'll never be able to accomplish that. That's your dream. That's your goal. Who's ever done that in our family? That will never work. What do you mean generate $250,000 in your business? Have you done that before? That will never work. So I want you to think about some of those chatter that you may say to yourself, or you've heard growing up, or you're hearing now in your space, right? So in that first top left quadrant, what is being said to you and about you? Just write 1 or 2 things. In the top right hand quadrant, those 2 things that you listed as what's being said, I want you to write, what do you believe? I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I'm a procrastinator, I'm lazy, I'm overwhelmed, I'm never gonna make this business work, I'm never gonna get that senior management promotion. What do you believe? You're gonna write that in the top right hand quadrant. Okay, and you can go back and complete this another time too. So you don't feel you have to pack it all in right now because we only have a limited time together this morning. So on the bottom left hand, I want you to write, what do you feel? What are the emotions when you think about your career, you think about your business? What emotions does that invoke? What emotions does that bring up? Excitement, overwhelm, joy, anxiety, peace, frazzle, to-do list. Well, to-do list is not an emotion, but you can see I'm a list person. But what do you feel when you think about your career goals and your life, how you show up, what you've accomplished? What feelings do you comes up for you? That's the bottom left. On the bottom right quadrant, I want you to write keywords of how you show up. Whatever comes to mind, no right or wrong. How do you show up? Bold, early, late, timid, reserved. frazzled. So on your sheet of paper, you should have a line drawn in the middle and a line across to give you 4 quadrants. On the top left hand, what is being said to you or about you, right? What are the things that you hear the most? Top right, what do you believe? What do you believe about yourself as a woman, as a leader, as a wife, as a mom, as a manager, as a supervisor, as an employee, as an employer, as a CEO? What do you believe? The bottom left, what do you feel? What emotions when you think about your life, when you think about the things that you've accomplished, when you think about where you are now, what emotions does that invoke? On the bottom right-hand side, how do you show up? How do you show up? I want you to understand the key to increasing your self-confidence lies in those 4 quadrants. If you're to have a healthy level of self-confidence, it lies in those 4 quadrants, what's been said to you, about you, what you say to yourself, what you believe about yourself, okay? Now, I said we're gonna give you some secrets, right? So number 1 secret I wanna share with you, that your self-confidence comes from knowing who your creator is. I'm a Jesus girl all day long, right? I respect everyone's beliefs, but the key in knowing your self-confidence is knowing who your creator is. Who created you? Because the creator is the one that can tell what the purpose of that item is, right? So if you know you were created by the Most High, you were created already with purpose, skills, and talents on the inside of you, right? When you hear the things from the world, when you hear things as you go in your career, that you have to do a self-assessment. Is that what my creator says? Is that what my purpose says? So your number 1 key to increasing your success is knowing who created you and why they created you. Because knowing that helps you understand your value comes from the creator. The second part of that is that your value comes from who you are, not what you do. Your value is who you are and not what you do. That when you get that, those blows, that when life happens, it does not shake you to the core. I'll give you an example. In my career, when I stopped working in corporate America and started working in my business, and I had my 2 little ones, I had a pause when people asked me what I had to tell. Oh, well, you know, they refer you to as your kid's mom, right? So, oh, so-and-so's mom, what do you do? And I wasn't working at that time, and I'm like, wow, what title? What do I say? Who am I, right? Like, after all these decades, am I in a crisis identity? So I had to pause and reassess. My value did not come from that senior technical project management title. My value did not come from that Fortune 10 company. My value came from what I brought to that organization, what I bring to my community, what I bring to the people that I connect with. Does that make sense? So my creator created me with purpose, skills, and talents. So no matter what area I'm in, I'm always going to portray that. I'm always going to have that talent. Right? So it's not in your value, your self-confidence needs to be tied to who you are and not what you do. When you get that piece down, you can walk in boldly after any situation, any disappointment, because if you're laid off, if you've been rejected, if you've been overlooked, you have the sense to know, okay, let me sit down and reassess and see what I need to do so this doesn't occur again. How do I reposition myself? You don't stay in that pit of, oh my God, I'm dumb, I'm stupid. I can't believe I didn't do this. I can't believe I wasn't able to secure that position. Because now you know your value is not in what you do, but in who you are. Okay, so we're gonna move on quickly to how are you showing up in the world? As women in leadership, If you don't know who you are, it's easy to respond or react in a negative manner. So we get these labels thrown on us, and we put these labels on ourselves as angry, resistant, mad, confrontational. That comes with the chatter or the voice that's in our backgrounds, right? So if we don't analyze and put those things to rest, we walk around with them. So as women leaders, it's important to know what you need to work on, how you need to improve. So when you show up, you're showing up authentically, you're showing up boldly, and you're able to communicate with the world. You're not showing up with baggage. You're not showing up with low self-esteem. You're showing up in the fullness of who you were created to be, your values, right? You're showing up knowing that your voice matters, that you will make a difference in this arena, in this conversation, in this organization, right? In this community, you know that. Okay, so establishing yourself as a leader, you work on the negative chatter and you work on how you show up. When I'm saying showing up, I'm talking physically in your workplace, in your place of business, how you show up online, how you show up in networking events, right? Are you the leader that when you go into a networking event, you're finding a corner to sit in instead of engaging? How are you showing up in the world? Because as a leader, if you're looking to get a promotion, but you never participate in where key stakeholders are, right? Your executive team never sees your face. They never hear your voice. But then you want to be promoted to senior management. How is that going to connect? How is that going to work? It's not. It's not. And a lot of times we go and we get these certifications, we get these degrees, and we think it's enough. And unfortunately, life shows us, corporate shows us that it's not enough. How you show up in the world matters. Who you show up to matters. So another thing I work with my students on is building your unique voice. So let me know if you can see this as well. Building your unique voice. Okay? So establishing your unique voice so you can communicate with confidence. What does that mean, your unique voice? Your unique voice is your core beliefs, your values, and what makes you distinct, what makes you unique, what sets you apart from every other employee, from every other supervisor. Okay? Your unique voice, you need to establish that so you can show up powerfully and communicate powerfully. I'll give you 2 key things that makes up the components of your unique voice. It's for me voice, meaning in your career, in your business, you show up for me. These are my goals. These are my things that I need to accomplish. These are my tasks. These are things that I have on my plate for today. These are the things, my initiatives. These are the positions that I need to go into. This is the salary. You hear that? That's focusing on me. And the second part of that is a voice that's for the people. You're engaged with your stakeholders. You know what the company's initiatives are, right? You're like this lady in this picture here, you're head down. You're focused on getting your information to yourself, to your teams, checking off your team list, checking off your to-do list, right? Because that matters for the company. That matters for your bottom line. That matters for your group. That matters for your division. So for me is your core values and beliefs that reflects on you. The voice that speaks for the people is the core values that illustrate what's important to your stakeholders and the people that you're connected with. What we want is a harmony between those two. We want you in the middle of a voice that speaks for me and a voice that speaks for the people. I'll help you understand what that looks like. We're gonna go ahead and do another little exercise, because this is a very hands-on workshop. I want you to go ahead and get some of this work in and see yourself in these examples, right? So what I want you to do on a separate sheet of paper is, now we're talking about secret number 2, right? Establishing your unique voice to communicate with confidence. Establishing your unique voice, communicating with confidence is secret number 2. And how you can advance in your career by marrying your me voice with your for the people voice. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. On this sheet of paper, I want you to have 3 columns. Your first column are your goals. The middle column are your actions or activities to meet that goal. The third column is your reality of what you're doing now, right? Establishing your unique voice, identifying, do you have a voice that's for me? Do you have a voice that's for the people? Or have you been able to marry the 2 and get a unique voice that incorporates your me voice and your for the people voice, okay? 3 columns. First column is your goals. And this could be career and business and life. I want you to go ahead and list 3 top goals that you want to accomplish. The second one is your actions. What are the actions that you need to do to meet those goals? Excuse me. And the third one is your reality. What do you spend the fraction of your time on? I'll give you an example. 8 hours at work. 3 days a week chauffeuring my kids and my parents around. Right? Write those things out. Now, I want you to observe as a leader, as a person that's looking to advance in their career, advance in their business, I want you to see what you're communicating to yourself and what you're communicating to the world. Look at the third column of your reality. The items that you list that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, do they fit? Are they aligned with the actions that you need to take to meet those 3 big audacious goals? Do they align? I want you to go ahead and put in the chat, yes, they align, Agatha. No, they're not. Yes, you're tracking with me. No, you're not. Do they align? And I'll tell you this. There's no room for excuses. There's no room for justification. I know that sounds harsh. I know that sounds mean, but I'll tell you why. When you're building your unique voice and you want to establish something that's for yourself, for your career, for your business, in order to have success, your goal, your actions, and your realities have to match up. They have to align. Because when you know who you are, you know who created you, why you were created, what your purpose is for this season, when you're looking at the 3 goals that you want to accomplish between now and the end of this year, at the end of a specific quarter, you have to do a real assessment. That doesn't mean life doesn't happen. That doesn't mean you don't have real things that are tugging at you. Unfortunately, we're at the stage, some of us women in leadership, we have parents that we're now caregivers for those. Some of us have children that have special needs that require our daily attention. Life happens to us where we go through life situations that take up our emotions, take up our energies. Those things, unfortunately, do not stop. I'll tell you from experience, looking to build my career into 6 figures, I dealt with clinical depression. After my mom passed, I was dealing with emotional anxiety, depression, that I had to go and seek professional help. Did my career have to stop? No, it slowed down, but I couldn't afford it to stop. Why? Because I had a family to take care of. I had goals that I needed to accomplish. And the reason I share that with you is it's easy for us as women to say, you know what, I'm wearing so many hats, I can't take care of me. But at the end of the day, if your unique voice doesn't blend the you and the people part, you will not accomplish what you're setting out to accomplish. If you keep putting off what you need to do because you're waiting on the kids to get into high school, how many years is that? How many decades is that? If you're waiting on your husband or you're waiting to get married to have a man that supports you, sorry to tell you, sometimes we have married women that don't have the support of their husband. So if you're waiting to reach your goal, to get a man so you can reach your goal, I don't mean to bust your bubble, but that doesn't always work out that way. And if you're waiting till you have less things on your plate to go full out for your goals, if you're waiting till this situation is resolved 100%, you are not going to reach your goals. And what happens is what we need to incorporate is tunnel vision. A lot of things I work with my students and I work with my clients on is, as women, we take care of so many other things and we lose us in the process. And years pass by, decades pass by, you wake up and people have passed you by. People have left you and you're in the same spot that you were last year. You're in the same spot as you were in the beginning. You can't blame the people that were pulling on you because you chose those activities, right? The secret number 2, establishing your unique voice that communicates with confidence. That confidence is knowing who you are and knowing what you're set up to accomplish. That confidence includes being able to say no. I love the phrase, no is a complete sentence. Say it with me, no. I love it. That's an easy thing for me. I know it's not easy for a lot of my students, but no. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and work and give this more thought. So another thing what I work with my students within the Demand Leadership Institute is establishing a blueprint for success. And we work through those 4 quadrants, right? Assessing the mindset. And then we also have systems and policies in place, because what you did on those 3 quadrants, right? Your goals, your actions, and your reality. I use the acronym BAG for bag, big audacious goals. That's your bag. That's what you're holding, right? And do you have a pretty fancy leather bag? Do you have one that's just worn out, tattered, like just falling apart? You know, are your goals in line? Are you waking up every day excited to meet those goals? Or are they on the corner, thrown to the side? You know how we are, ladies, with some of our bags, right? Depending on the brand, depending on when we purchase it. It might be hanging in the nice, beautiful cloth that it comes in, or it might be sitting collecting dust in the corner of our closets. Your big, audacious goals, your bag. What does your bag look like? Are you taking care of it, right? And like I said, we work with you within Demand Leadership Institute to build out your goals in career and in business, put systems in place to help you navigate your time, your activities, and give you that accountability to know that you're making progress. Another thing that I love about my community is that we are a community that we help and encourage you. There's days that you're going to have an off day. Depending on what's going on in your life, you might have an off week. But what we do, myself as a coach and the other women in the group, is we don't let you stay there. Because that bag, those big audacious goals, we remind you, hey, this is what you needed to accomplish by the end of the quarter. This is the position you said you wanted to go after. This is what you invested your time, money, and energy in. We're going to hold you accountable to that. Okay? So building your unique voice needs to articulate what it's in your bag. Okay? And the last secret that we want to share in this Beyond is this helping you? Hopefully. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So the last thing we want to incorporate in our building our executive presence to advance in our business and in our careers. Number 3, operate from a place of I belong. The secret number 3, in order to advance in career and in business, is that you're operating from a place of I belong. I remember, I remember when I worked in hospitality and worked my way, 4-star property, 644 rooms, exquisite on Miami, Biscayne Bay, right by the Port of Miami. Beautiful facility, marble, floor to ceiling, right? Beautiful rooms, beautiful international clientele, presidential. I mean, it's a beautiful hotel, beautiful property. And working my way from PBX to front desk. And another thing I work with my students on is having your career map timeline. So I work with a 2-year timeline, meaning every 2 years, higher visibility, higher promotions, higher pay, right? And if you could do it in a shorter time frame, that's better. But 2-year mark, higher position, higher visibility, higher pay. So going from PBX, front office, and then sales and marketing, I was excited. You know, I loved what I did. I loved the clients that I worked with. And during my time as I did tour and travel coordination, and during that time, we had a new sales director, right? It's an international, worldwide organization. So our upper management, senior management, executives, you know, they rotate within the organization, within the company. So we had the gentleman that hired me in, right, took a gamble on me. He was leaving at that time, and they brought in a new executive, a sales director. And the office, just to give you a little background, the office makeup, say we have 8 sales managers, 3 sales assistants, coordinators, a receptionist. So that's just our department, right? That's just our department. And this executive level floor also consists of the executive level, the president of the organization, the general manager, the VPs, all of that. I was one of 3 women of color. One of 3 women of color, and honestly, I don't recall any men of color. Wow. But I know for a fact, one lady, African American, was in accounting, and myself and a sales manager was in my department, women of color. First thing the sales director did was he let go of the African American sales manager. So now I'm in the office on the whole floor, executives, managers, and there's 2 individuals that look like me. So now I go in and I have my end of the year review, and I've been consistently hitting my numbers, right? Because like I told you, I love what I did. I love sales. I love my market. I had clients from Fortune 100 companies that I did smaller bookings for them. I was a coordinator, so I did that. And I also worked with my sales directors or sales managers on Fortune 10. Hey, Katrina, let me see if I can see you on here. Hey, Katrina, thanks. Do you have a question? I'm trying with this thing. I'm going to have to practice more. Okay. So yes, so did I lose you guys? Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, guys. So I was going back here to the I belong. Okay. So yeah, so what I was saying was that he let go of that. So now I'm the only woman of color in the on our department, and like one of 2 on the floor. And I have all my letters, because when I'm going in for my reviews, I do also bring all my results, right? All the contracts that I've signed, the revenue that I brought in for the quarter, the revenue I brought in for the year. And I'm excited because now I know I'm in the position to go into a senior sales manager's position, because I've worked for it. My manager's backing me up. I have the results, and so I go in and I sit down, with this gentleman, and I'm not nervous because I'm thinking, you know, I'm always on the mark. I'm always on it and everything. So I hand him everything, and I'm waiting on him to start. And his first thing out of his mouth to me is, "You will never get promoted in this company." I'm like, excuse me? He goes, you will never get promoted. Mind you, he hasn't looked at one report. He hasn't looked at one revenue projection. He hasn't looked at one client, and I'm signing contracts with top Fortune 100 companies. And he's like, Agatha, you're never going to get promoted. I'm not promoting you. It doesn't matter what your numbers are. It doesn't matter what your projections are. It doesn't matter what your results are. I'm not promoting you. And so I just sat down. So that was the first sentence, the first statement out of his mouth. I'm like, okay, so is the meeting over, or is this meeting over? He's like, yeah. I take my papers, I take my folder, and I'm like, God, just help me get to my desk, right? Don't let me have a meltdown. Help me get to my desk. And I asked my colleague, and I said, you know what, can you cover for me? And I'm going to go ahead and leave. And they're like, are you okay? What happened? That was a quick meeting. You have to go. I go, no, I need to leave. So I get in the car and I lose it. I mean, tears, hurt, pain, embarrassment, disbelief. Like, did this man just say the 6 years that I invested in this company, and no matter what I did, he was not going to promote me? And I sat there and I cried, and I knew I had to collect myself because I'm the kind of daughter, like, I don't like bringing stress to my mom. So I knew I had to put myself together before I can go even talk to my mom about what happened. But in that moment, I realized there was no changing his mind. There was no convincing him of the value, because he already told me, no matter what you say, what you do, what results you bring in, you're not going to get promoted. And I should have asked, looking back now, I should have asked him why, but I already knew. Being a woman of color, being fat, not looking like what the other executives or the managers on that floor look like, or within that organization, for the property he came from, his mindset. And I knew that. But I should have asked him, I should have, made him say those words. But what I did in those next few days, after I cried, I pulled myself together and I looked at my goal sheet. Even at that, I looked at my map and I decided, what is my next step? And I met with my mentor, and that's another thing I want to encourage you guys, is to have a mentor. I met with my mentor because what are my options? And this gentleman, he was a lawyer, very helpful. And he talked with me. His first thing was like, Agatha, okay, here's the legal ramifications. Because I promise you, as you're sitting here meeting with me, he's meeting with HR, and HR is meeting with their lawyers. Because he was completely out of line. Not only just thinking it, but saying it to you in your review. So he's like, here's the legal ramifications. Here's your options. Here's what you can take, the next steps you can take. So he explains that to me. So we go through that. And the second thing he goes to me, he's like, Agatha, I don't know if you don't know my sister. She's also in corporate. She works for the chamber. And he's a Black man, right? He's like, I can give you her number because she had surgery, like weight loss surgery. He's like, I'll give you her number because that's something you have to look at. If you're interested in going into, and I know my mentor wasn't trying to be hurtful. I know he wasn't being critical or judgmental, but he was telling me the realities. This is the industry you're in. You're in a high profile, 4-star international, globally property. You're as a sales, so you're the face of the company. And unfortunately, the people that you're going to meet are going to have a different perception of you, your color, your weight, your height, your tone, everything about you. So address it legally, and here's how you could address it personally. I took the information, I appreciated him, I thanked him for his time, and I went back to the drawing board and said, you know what? I belong here. I belong in the management space. I belong in the executive space. I belonged in a 6-figure environment because I knew for myself that had nothing to do with my weight, that had nothing to do with my skin color, and everything with what I had in my hand, with my results, with my impact, and the value that I brought to the organization. So then I decided, what's my next step in my career? I decided not to fight it legally. I decided not to have the surgery. I decided to switch my career because earlier, I was already thinking about relocating. I was already thinking about a career shift, and I did that. And when I tell you I shifted in a new career, can I tell you, when I went in for the promotion, it would be beautiful if I could tell you that I just went in entry level and went to 6 figures. I heard the same exact statement. And this gentleman was bold enough to tell me, like, your weight. But I knew that I belonged. So if I didn't lose a pound, I belonged in that space. Excuse me. So I decided I'm just gonna do my work, and I'm gonna get a promotion no matter what. With you in this position, without you in this position. And Fortune 10 company went from contractor to floor supervisor to entry-level project manager to a technical project manager, and ending up in that career with a senior technical project manager. Because why? I knew that I belonged. I knew I had a family to take care of. I had financial goals. And I had people that were relying on me. As women, we carry a lot of people with us, right? I had other young women, those that looked like me and didn't look like me, that were relying on me to help push through, right? To break a door open. And by the grace of God, when you think of yourself as a woman in leadership, and sometimes it's so difficult, sometimes you get hit over, knocked down over and over again. I want you to think about knowing that you belong and that you're paving the way for another person. Okay, so that's your secret sauce. When you know you belong, no one can shake you off your steps. No one can shake you off of that position. But that comes with a strong self-confidence. That comes with knowing who you are and your unique voice, knowing how to communicate on the same level and to higher ups, the value you bring to an organization, to a business. And that comes with your mindset of knowing, here are my big audacious goals, and here's what I need to do. With your support, without your support, with your backing, without your backing, here's what I need to do to accomplish that. So the last thing I want you to do is I want you to take a breath, and I'll take a breath, because a lot of times those experiences, they shape how we show up in the world. They shape our pain, our hurt, our experiences, but we have to release that, because now we're in a better space. We have to go through those things to be able to reach another person, to teach another person, right? So what I want you to do right now is I want you to take a clean sheet of paper. And this is our final and last activity for the webinar. I want you to take a clean sheet of paper, and I want you to put today's date on it. I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but I'm not. I want you to put today's date on it. And I want you to write, congratulations, and I want you to put your name. You know how they showed us in school how to format a letter? So you're going to put today's date. If I knew what that was, September 13th. You're going to put September 13th. And you're going to put congratulations, and you're going to put your name. The next line, I want you to write, I am so proud that you, and I want you to complete that sentence. I am so proud that you blank, blank, blank. And I want you to write those things out. Now, this letter is something after we're done here, I want you to go in a quiet place, and you're talking to your future self. You're talking to that future senior manager. You're talking to that future CEO. You're talking to that future business owner. You're talking to that future wife, that future mom, that future ministry leader. You're talking to that future you, and you're congratulating her. And you're telling her you're proud of her for accomplishing. You're proud of her for doing. You're proud of her for stepping into. And this future you is not 2020 you. It's not 2019 you. It's December 31st you. This is when you're going to address this letter. Today's date, congratulations, insert your name. I am so proud that you were able to. I'm so proud that you completed. I'm so proud that you stepped out on and complete that. Okay, so again, I thank you so much for being here. I thank you for hanging out with me, and hopefully this information has helped you. We talked about the 3 secret success to advancing in your career and in your business. Number 1, we said increase your self-confidence so you can get unstuck and build momentum. Number 2 is establish a unique voice that communicates with confidence. And number 3 is remove that imposter syndrome and have the conviction that I belong, that you belong. So right now we're going to open it up for our Q&A. Let's see if you have any questions. If you have any questions, I want to go ahead and encourage you to post that for me in the chat. I want to see, did I give you guys, hey, Miss Katrina, I want to see if I can allow you to talk. Okay. If you want to unmute, are you able to unmute?